Oh, I've been putting this off. My official prediction for Islam Makhachev and Bobby Green. Guys, I'm going Islam. And I'm putting this off because I want to build and pound into your guys' head prior to this contest that Bobby Green is a live dog. Here is what ends up happening. What ends up happening in a fight is you get two guys that within your mind, boy, these guys are great. Bobby Green's going to move around. He's going to hit him a lot. He's going to show you looks that you've never seen. He can scramble off the bottom. He doesn't get tired. You understand they say Islam's straightforward. He's a bull. He's going to try to put him in the cage. You think that you know what's going to happen, but what ends up happening is one of them agrees with you and sees it for the other guy. When two opponents get in there, they have the same idea. You just don't know who it is. They both know what's about to happen, regardless of what is on their face. And when you have somebody being elevated into the spot like Bobby is, who's going to watch Islam, and all he's ever been told by is that Islam can go out in there and take you down, if you start to buy into that, you now change the way that you fight. There's some real tells on fighters for who's not going to go very far in this business and for who you should not bet on. And if you ever hear anybody talking about strategies and game plans, that's the guy you don't want to bet on because there's no such thing. They're just words. If you're a guy that's just using, well, we've got a real good game plan. If that happens to be what you're really good at, if that's what you're saying to me, you're going to do in this fight what you did in the previous one and the previous one and every other fight that you had success. If that is, in fact, your game plan, okay, great. If you're going to change and adapt to him, you're done. That's basic logic. You're going to bring in a skill set that you've yet to show to deal with his number one plan. You're a fool. And you will find coaches that get in somebody's head. I've seen coaches ruin guys. Oh, here's what we're going to do. Here's how you got to do it. You got to always step this way when the guys used to step in the opposite. You can't fix these things in camp. The guy gets to the UFC, he can keep working hard and keep refining. Never give up on learning and growing your skills. But for the most part, this is what he is. I've seen colleges do that to countless wrestlers. Some of them mine. My wrestlers will do such a good job, win state titles and get national acclaim, that they can get money for college, and the coach on day one will want to change them to a different system. Go, coach, what'd you buy the guy for in the first place? What did you see in this athlete that you were willing to put money on, and now you're throwing it? You don't want it? You want him to come out and do, he's going to grab an elbow instead of an inside time. It's one of these things. And I see it all the time. If Bobby goes out and does that, if Bobby is like every other guy that's been thrown in a big position and he's showing respect and fear to this other guy's opponent, we're beat. But if Bobby goes out and fights like Bobby, where he comes out and he taunts you, Bobby puts the pace on you. Nobody's ever put a pace on Bobby. Bobby will hit you first and second and third. Nobody's got the first punch on Bobby. Bobby gets his ass off the fence. He scrambles the whole time. It's a good sweat going. He gives you different looks. He gets in your head. Nobody's ever done that back to Bobby. Islam came out. He gave one statement for this fight. Islam said, I have the same plan every fight. I'm going to take him down, get on top, and get him tired. They have set that octagon up since 1993. In 93 through 99, we were trying to figure out what was the best sport. Once we found it in 99, by 2005, we threw those philosophies out and realized there's something called MMA. It's a sport in and of itself. You can have a gold medal in any one discipline from the Olympic Games and not get a goddamn round over here. It became its own sport. And it has changed, and the trends have changed. It's always proven to be grappling heavy for the most part, but you'll always have somebody like Adesanya, who never's done a takedown in his life, that will be the king of the world. One thing and one constant from right now in 2002 that dates back to Birmingham, Alabama in 1993 is if you take a guy down against his will and keep him there, you will win. We've had flying knee phases. We've had the guillotine phases. We had the rear naked choke, of which you guys have never seen work. The rear naked choke, let me let you in on something. The rear naked choke is when one guy is ready to get out of there. Just so you understand. We've seen every phase that you've got, and they come in waves, and we've learned a lot. And we're perfecting our craft and our art, and it will be more perfect 10 years from now than it was 10 years ago. There is one thing that has passed time. From when there was no weigh-ins, from when it was David versus Goliath, from where it could be bare knuckle, to where commissions got involved, to where you had rankings, to where you had a round system. There is one thing: take a guy down against his will and keep him there. That has worked from day one. And 10 and 20 and 30 years from now, that will still work. So when Islam comes out and says, I have one plan, it's the same plan every time. Take a guy down and beat him up. Okay, you got me. Islam is telling you the truth. That is his plan. I look forward to the day that somebody stops Islam from doing that so we can see what his plan B is. And I got to compare everything Islam does to Khabib, because everybody else does, including Islam. He's very proud of his coach and mentor, Khabib. And I do remember when Khabib finally couldn't take somebody down. It was round 4 in New York against Al Iaquinta, but we then found out Khabib can go on his feet. Khabib had a lot harder time taking Conor down than you might remember. Conor was actually very flexible, did a good job at the hips. Khabib comes up, puts the guy that just went 10 rounds with Mayweather straight on his ass. Turned out Khabib had a plan B. George St. Pierre had to take everybody down. Then he runs up with the two-time All-American named Matt Hughes. George kicks him in the head, knocks him out, takes his belt away, all inside of 5. So what I'm suggesting for you is not that Islam doesn't have another set of skills. I'm telling you, it's going to be a fun day when we see what that is. It is going to be a very interesting day when we get to see just how good is he in other areas. And I think Bobby's the guy to do that. Bobby Green can win this fight. If Bobby Green goes out there and fights like Bobby Green, he can win this fight. Islam overwhelms. Islam dominates people. He doesn't just not lose fights. He doesn't lose rounds. He doesn't just not lose rounds. He doesn't lose a sequence. I have seen Islam lose one exchange. I've seen 11 of his fights. I've seen him lose one exchange. It was a grappling, it was a reversal, and he got it back in a second. That's how hard you have to look to find any kind of flaws. At a minimum, Bobby's going to break that. Bobby's going to win some exchanges. Bobby is going to hit this guy right in the mouth. Bobby's going to make him work for takedowns. Bobby's going to get up off the bottom. I believe those things. I fully believe those. Bobby could win the fight. Bobby Green could win the fight. History says Bobby will change what Bobby does, that he's going to respect something with Islam. I don't think he should do it. I don't. Islam gets a lot of takedowns. They're not by the book. George St. Pierre, perfectly by the book. Khabib rewrote the book. A great position for defense on your feet against a grappling attack is go get up against the fence. Turn your toes, turn your heels, lock into that fence. He can't push you this way because the cage is there. Most people don't do wrestling in a pull form. Wrestling is done in a push form. Getting up against the fence is a great thing. No, Khabib will let you start there. Go ahead and start there. Now we do. Khabib took everybody down from the fence. He rewrote the book. He really did. And Islam is doing something very similar. But if you're worried about a guy taking you down, the guy must be a pretty good wrestler. Show me Islam's medals. Show me his standing in the Russian Nationals. Show me how he did at the European Championships. Show me how he did at the Junior Worlds, the Cadet Worlds. Show me anything that says Islam's a great wrestler aside from Islam fights where he takes people down. And I just think Bobby should take some refuge in that. Bobby works out with a lot more accomplished wrestlers. It's a true story, guys. It's a very true story. And Ngannou just weighed in on Surreal. Post their fight, Ngannou just touched on it. And all he said is the UFC kept Surreal away from wrestlers. Very interesting statement. Because one of his stories from Surreal, and I brought this to your guys' attention, so I'll shine my own wheels up a little bit. One of the things going to that fight is that Surreal had never been taken down. And Ngannou had never taken anybody down. So we were positive we were going to have a stand-up fight, right? Well, we didn't. And I brought this to you guys before the fight, and I told you Surreal has never taken on a wrestler. And of the big tough guys that Surreal's taken on, none of them have ever tried a takedown. So Surreal had not been taken down was the story, and that's his statement, and it's true. But you got to look a little bit closer because there's an asterisk. Nobody ever even tried. He hasn't stopped it. He hasn't been taken down, but he also never stopped a takedown. It hadn't been attempted. So I start to look at the heavyweight division a little bit closer after Ngannou says it. I said, some bitch, we're not represented. I have never seen a time in the UFC that the amateur wrestler in the heavyweight class was not represented. The closest thing that we have to an NCAA wrestler is Stipe Miocic, and he was. But Stipe doesn't get the credit for being a wrestler. He does his best work with his hands, and more people talk about his baseball than they do his wrestling. If you want to go look at that roster quite literally for an NCAA wrestler, you'll find one. His name is Stipe. You won't find any other ones. That includes Jon Jones. That includes Curtis Blades. I have never seen a time, and I never was brought to my attention until Ngannou made the statement, where wrestling is less represented in a class than heavyweight right now. Why is that? And I do think that Bobby should take a real refuge in that. I think if Bobby goes and watch 4 or 5 Islam fights between now and fight night, coming up with a strategy, he needs to look a little bit further. Who are those guys that Islam's taking down? Islam does not have a medal or a trophy that I've ever heard of in wrestling. If he grabbed one, it was as a little boy and it was a side tournament. He does not. Bobby's in the room daily with wrestlers who do. Bobby's going to see footage of Islam taking everybody down. Bobby needs to look a little bit closer, go, where's those guys' medals? Did he take down a cadet champion, a Fargo champion, a who's number one competitor? Anybody that got $1 from any college in the NCAA? Anybody that did time in the military? Anybody that tried to get overseas? All of a sudden, you got to look a little bit closer. Islam might be like Khabib and like George St. Pierre, who doesn't have any of those things, but he can still do it. He might be. I'm not putting him down. What I'm talking about is Bobby getting his head around this ahead of time. Just because you saw a guy take 5 guys down, or you saw Surreal never be taken down, you've got to do further research. The highest level grappler that Islam's ever been in there with is somebody who got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, which is a discipline that doesn't fancy and put a huge value on the takedown. If I'm Bobby Green, I'm going to think about that. I'm going to wait just a second. I'm going to get out wrestled by a guy that's never wrestled. I'm going to get taken down by a guy that always takes people down, but he's never fought anybody that's ever been in a sport that is adverse to the takedown. I'm going to build a head of confidence. I'm going to realize this weight class is the one I asked for. I'm going to realize the pressure's on him. It's not on me. If I'm Bobby Green, I'm going to go out there and beat Bobby Green. Bobby Green can win this fight. You want a prediction from me? I'll put the curse on Islam. But I want to go a little bit further than just the outcome. This is going to be a different fight. Bobby Green on a bad night, if he goes out there and underperforms, if he is scared of Islam, he is still going to win in exchange. He is still going to win minutes of this fight. He is still going to force Islam to do things that Islam has never done. A bad Bobby Green is still the toughest opponent Islam Makhachev has ever faced.